You're listening to the Luxe Lounge Podcast, the official podcast of Urban Luxe Real Estate. And now, here are your hosts, Joe and Dave.
Dave, ready for episode 15?
Episode 15 of the Luxe Lounge.
Luxe Lounge Podcast. That's Urban Luxe Real Estate here in Old Town Scottsdale. We just like to have a little fun with this, talk about stuff to do. Last time we talked about day drinking and some marketing. And today I kind of want to talk about state of the market. It's changing daily. I'm going to bring up a situation really quick. Saw it with a client yesterday. And they said, what do you think? I said, let me tell you in 5 days. And they go, 5 days? Like, the market's going to change? I'm like, yeah, here it's like every week. So in 5 days, I could answer their question exactly because I saw the market shifting a little bit. What are you seeing out there?
So I think buyers are getting a little worn out. Even I can experience with some of my buyers, we put in a couple offers and we don't get it. And then I've got, some, I had a really positive weekend this past weekend. Wrote 4, looks like I'm getting 3 out of the 4.
Wow.
And so that's going to be good. But we had to come in and waive appraisal, big earnest money, non-refundable after inspection, all that kind of stuff. But we got the deal. And it was nice. On one of them, I know the agents on the other side. And so they kind of been like, hey, we'll just tell you what you need to get the deal.
So those terms are almost more important than the purchase price.
Yeah, I think you have to start with those terms, and then someone will tell you what you need. If you're willing to be there, they'll tell you what you need to get the deal.
Yeah. We're still having a ton of buyer's remorse, huge cancellation numbers. We're starting to see things come back on the market a lot, sells in the first day. Me as a listing agent, I'm really reluctant to sell to some of these companies that are sight unseen.
Yeah, no, we definitely want people that have been in the house, have seen it, have walked it. Video tours are still okay. I mean, I think that can, if it was the right offer, but at the same time, like you might need to shorten up some of those timelines for someone that hasn't seen it.
Yeah, I'm forcing or asking those buyers agents to really shorten the inspection period. If they're going to cancel, they're going to do it during the inspection period. I'd rather them cancel within 5 days than 10 and may lose a weekend.
Right.
We're seeing a little buyer fatigue on our side too. If you want, a month ago, any house would do. Now people are starting to say, well, I've lost so many houses. I'm just going to wait for that right one to pop up, which is good. I mean, they're going to, if that right one pops up, they're probably more invested in it.
Well, and I started noticing that the panic buying was going away a little bit, which is a lot nicer because you get someone who's, I got to have this house. So then you just throw everything you can at the wall to get that house. And then they realize, oh, I don't want to give up all of that stuff. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, they agree to it, then all of a sudden they know that that's probably not in our best favor. And it's hard to explain why it's in your best favor to waive appraisal and to make earnest money hard. Because we have a fiduciary in Arizona. The way we run our real estate is the buyer's agent represents the buyer, the seller's agent represents the seller. So you have a fiduciary to give them the best advice. And it's hard to say the best advice is for you to risk everything.
Right. Well, that's my conversation is how bad do you want this house? I've had some where they'll release earnest money right as soon as contract acceptance happens. And then I've had some where they're like, no, I don't need to do that on this one. However, I will waive the appraisal and the earnest money can be non-refundable after the inspection.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, it's kind of like a 1 to 5 list of which contingency do we want to get rid of to be most appealing to the seller. But we've had even have people waive not asking for repairs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we actually had a home warranty come in and talk to us today about getting those items okayed by the warranty company before you even fully accept the contract. While you're still in your inspection period, having the home warranty company look at that repair request or the home inspection.
Right, and that's an interesting thing too. It's home warranty companies have, I think, really had to change their business over the last few years here.
Yeah, their name hasn't been great, especially in Arizona where you need new air conditioners.
Right. Well, we did like that company that came by today.
Yeah, they did. That was super, and then they did a great job. What we also seeing is, sorry, Sierra's over here taking pictures. She thinks she's funny.
Go broke.
She's our broker. She's been on podcasts before. She talked about fitness in Arizona because she's super fit. I know coming to boot camp with her right now, and she's killing me. But with the buyer fatigue type of idea, there is I got a lot of people sitting on the sidelines. They're wondering where the price are going, and if they waited too long, most of the houses were sold that first day, and now we're seeing. We have to wait for 1 or 2 buyers to finish up their showings before we get into our time slot. Then there's always somebody waiting to get in after us. And then 2 days later, the house isn't sold. So a lot of these houses are, especially in that over 800 price range, are getting lots of showings, but not necessarily getting offers.
Yeah. And I had 2 this weekend. One's 840. The other one was it was listed 730 and we ended up going up to 755. But the big challenge in showing right now and showing buyers and trying to work with all these schedules is these listing agents are only leaving the house available for 2 hours on a Saturday and really not doing a great job for their sellers at that point.
Well, it sounds great when you go to listing appointment and say, hey, I'm only going to kick you out of your house for 2 hours and I'm going to sell it that day. That sounds like a great marketing tool for the agent to get your listing, but are they really doing the best service for you if they're not opening it up for a couple days and for a lot of hours? Because, boy, if there's that perfect buyer that's cash from California that wants to fly in to see your house and you're only going to have it open for 2 hours, capturing that buyer is going to be really tough.
Yeah, and, it doesn't make it fun for anybody with trying to, schedule these like little mini open houses. I mean, I've got one that we're putting on this weekend and we're going to leave it open from Thursday at 4 to Sunday at 6.
Yeah. Well, I had a seller the other day, Mary Kay, and she's fantastic person and client and friend, and she has an 1.5 acres. She had a buddy bring out an RV to drop on her other 0.5 acre that's all desert up in there in Desert Hills, and she stayed in the RV for 2 days while we showed the house. It was awesome.
See, that's great.
She had the dogs. She went back to her house, of course, at night, but all day long, because she has a bunch of dogs, they just hung out in the RV. Air conditioning.
That's great. That's what everybody should be doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good time to take a couple day vacation. I've got a client this weekend. They're going to go to Florida for a couple days. Perfect time to do the first week of showings. And they'll probably sell in the first week if we can get that many people through. But really, agents and the 2 hour windows is really hampering us from getting that right buyer in that's really going to stick.
Yeah. And, we've talked about it before. On earlier episodes of the podcast, but you really got to know the lender, the agent, the buyer, what they're capable of, what they're not capable of, to make sure you get that deal closed.
Yeah. And then as a buyer, do you really know who your lender is? I mean, are you just going online and picking one? Are you getting a referral from your realtor? Usually the realtor wants the deal to close, so they're usually going to give you a pretty good recommendation.
Well, that, and I think the challenge for us as agents is if we're dealing with somebody that they just found online, we may not get a call back from that person as fast as we need to. The communication is not always great because we don't know who we're working with.
Yeah. And boy, not all lenders are the same. I mean, most buyers think, well, this lender told me this, but he may not be able to, if he's especially a broker, they might be captive. So if you're captive like a B of A can only sell you B of A loans. You have U.S. Bank loans, Wells Fargo, same type of thing. But if you go to a broker, they might say, we work with 20 different lenders, so we have 20 different kind of loan packages, or each of those guys have 4 different loan packages, so now we have 80. And then you get some companies say, well, we can shop at 200 different loan packages. So when you go in there and say, well, the lender goes, you're not qualified for this. Well, it might just be with that lender. That's true.
We've looked at, we've got quite a few lender partners that each one of them's got some of their own special stuff. And depending on that buyer, hey, so-and-so might be great for that person.
Yeah. We talked to a lender the other day that we had in the office, and specifically they were talking about bridge loans. Bridge loans allow you to buy a home and then sell your house instead of having to sell your house to qualify for the next purchase. You pay off this bridge in between once your house is sold. Lots of flexibility. Great program. We did a lot of that during the boom, 15 years ago, but they kind of went away. And yeah, they're a little higher risk for the bank, but they're using their own money to do it. And we can get a 350 bridge, and that's awesome. I mean, that allows a lot of people to make some moves that couldn't make moves before.
Yeah, it's definitely very helpful. One thing we just want to make sure with these lenders is that, again, their program is going to work, and the buyer's got to be able to qualify, and we don't want someone to just, blow smoke. We want to make sure that everybody's, above board.
Yeah. And, we like to say you live in the payment, not in the price. So when you look at the price of a house, it's really, what's that payment going to be? Can I live in it? Can I afford that monthly? Because sometimes they'll give you a loan that you can't qualify for, or sometimes you can afford more than you think based on what the monthly payment is. And that's going to be flexible. I mean, let's say you're in a subdivision and one has a $200 a month HOA and one doesn't. That's a lot of loan.
100%. And, interest rates right now are still crazy low. So it's a good time to buy because you can get more house for your money.
And I think we're going to see a lot more people, again, wanting to sell now that the refi market's over. A lot of people didn't love the house they were in, but they were able to refi for such a low rate. They thought, well, I can stay in this house pretty cheaply, even though it's not my dream home. I think we're going to get loan fatigue in a year. Like, I'm tired. I stayed in the house I don't love because the loan was cheap, but I'm willing to move.
Let's hope so. I mean, we want to see some more inventory come back one way or another.
Oh boy, I talked to a property manager the other day, and he controls about 200 properties, and he's having a hard time because his landlords aren't renewing the leases. They're selling the houses.
Oh, I bet that could be a big hit.
Yeah. I mean, boy, if you're losing inventory, you're losing part of your pool of homes that you rent out because they're no longer rentals. They're going to be sold to homeowners. That's a huge hit for those guys. But it shows that the market is so high that landlords are saying, I'm cashing out.
And rightfully so. I mean, I know a lot of my clients that are investors, they own 14, 15 houses. Most of them are pretty disciplined in not selling any of their houses. Makes for a nice retirement for them.
Sure.
But they started looking at, I had one of the houses we put an offer on this weekend. Very similar house closed about back on March 2nd. And we're up 15% from March 2nd.
That's crazy.
And he goes, how is that possible? I said, there was 12 offers and we got it. But there's 12 offers at around the price that we got it for.
Yeah, we closed. I closed a house last week, Friday, and about 2 weeks ago, my client said, Joe, did I overpay? I said, you did, but now another one's closing, and now you don't.
Right.
You know, you have it. So they had overpaid for about a window of about, 12 days. But then there was another sale in the neighborhood that topped ours, and now she's right where she should be.
Right, and that's good. I mean, I think it's just having a good agent that'll negotiate, not let you completely overpay, but as we look at like the Cromford report or a lot of the data that you and I look at in terms of, what's happening in the market, Cromford says 15% in that zip code over the last month.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm laughing because I'm looking at the dates here on my phone and going, wow, she can actually move into that house in a week that she bought Friday because we had to give a lease back to the seller so they could move. So that's one of those things one of those concessions we're talking about. Letting the seller stay in the house, which is a legal nightmare, but has to be done right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we're giving somebody a free lease back if we get this deal accepted, which I'm hoping we'll hear about soon. But 30-day lease back for free.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate part of the market with those bridge loans going away. People are just having to take some extra time before they get in that next house, or they can't buy a house till their house gets in escrow, whatnot, just rolls downhill. Where we are seeing some inventory stacking up is the condo market. That's a big market for us. So especially here in Old Town, those 2-bedroom, 2-bath condos in that $300 price range. Typically, 2 weeks ago we had about, in our local area here, we really only had about 7, 8 of them, and today we have about 27, 28.
Wow!
So we're seeing with the snowbirds leaving and a little bit of buyer fatigue, we're starting to see these $300,000 condos kind of sitting on the market. Now, they were $200,000 condos not too long ago, and I think a lot of people were reaching to get to that 300 market for them. So I think a lot of the buyers are, hoping those come back down a little bit. I'm not sure they're going to come back down, but they definitely are leveling.
Yeah, and that's good to see, though. I mean, condos never appreciate as much as houses anyways. But they'll end up selling. Someone's going to need a place to live, even if it's temporary.
Well, especially like that first-time home buyer. I come from originally from the Midwest, and you didn't jump into a house right away. Maybe you got engaged, you got married, that type of thing. That time in your life, you went out and bought a condo, and then you lived in that for a while. And maybe you start thinking about starting a family. Okay, we're going to move out and we're going to buy a house, And that was a natural progression of things. In Arizona, I'm 22 years old. I'm going to go buy a 5,000 square foot house in Gilbert with a pool. And I won't even be able to furnish it for years because I have no extra money because I'm tapping myself out. And we saw tons of that. I mean, you bought your first house.
I was 21.
21. That's not normal.
No.
Anyway, in most states.
Yeah, and I think, it was a really good move on my part because we bought right before the boom. But it's, again, that's a great way to build wealth is to own real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great when they can, but with house prices now, really everything's over 400 just for the most basic of houses. The condo's at least an entry level point for people where they can own their own property and not have to go spend $500,000.
Absolutely, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know these kids are getting paid a lot now, but boy, if you're just in a trade type of field where you're not getting that kind of paycheck yet at that age, great time. I was out looking at properties in Tempe. Tempe used to be really cheap, $250 properties, but even the stuff that was $250 is now $400.
Yeah, it's really hard to get into anything under 400.
Yeah. And these weren't great, but they're doable. They're little block homes. I love the old block and shingle Hall Crafts and Master Crafts and Continentals from the 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah, they're fun to remodel too.
Yeah. Little to-do list. I mean, your honey-do list is there every weekend because something's always breaking.
Right.
Yeah. But my first house was that, and I'd walk that roof every year with a tar gun and tack down my shingles so I can get a little extra years out of that roof, which I changed when I sold the house. But it was fun having that little project house, and you couldn't really go wrong on it. It was a block house.
Yeah, the one we had in Old Town that we remodeled and added on to was great. Wish I would have been able to keep that one.
Yeah, and right now, so what we're seeing these rentals. I mean, we're seeing a progression in the neighborhood I was in Tempe. These properties, if I look at the history, they've been rented for years and years, 10 years of rental. And now we're seeing that landlord who hasn't really taken care of the property too well. He's putting it on the market, getting his tenant out, put on the market for a lot more than he probably paid for the property. We're seeing remodelers go in there, buy those properties, remodel them. They're not making the margins they used to be, but they're still doing them. So I'm surprised. I'm shocked people are still remodeling, given what the entry level point is to buy the property. And then that family that's coming in, the homeowner that's coming in there is getting a remodeled block home in a good neighborhood that was a rental before.
Yeah, and it's nice. I mean, the margins aren't there, but for these guys to keep their guys busy and even just make a little bit of money, I mean, it's nice to see them still doing it.
Oh, yeah. When you and Dave and I used to do a little bit more back in the day, and your margin had to be 50,000 or plus to make it worthwhile. Now we're seeing remodelers going, well, if I can make 15 or 20,000 profit out of it, I'll do the deal. But they just have to get a lot of them.
Yeah, that, and they're really hard to find even to make 15 or 20.
Yeah. Yeah. Inventory, I think today I looked at it, we're still right there, like single family homes in Maricopa, still below 3,000 houses.
It's crazy, crazy, crazy times.
Yeah. But again, condos are coming up. Condos are more available. So if you're looking for those, it's actually becoming a good time to buy again. We're seeing single family homes, again, over that 850 kind of mark. We're seeing those become more available. I think the buyers, especially the Californians that were freaking out after the election, are kind of slowing down or easing into it or saying, I might just stay in California. Because I tell you, right after the election, I had a ton of people, for whatever reason, were saying, I want to get out of the state because of their taxation. And I think a lot of them are just kind of calming down. They're realizing they just can't steal something in Arizona.
Yeah, no, Arizona's, everyone's moving here. So it's pure supply and demand, and the demand is high and the supply is low.
Yeah, and every license plate's different.
That's right.
You want to play name license plate game, move to Arizona. Yeah. You can find any license plate in the country.
In springtime, all the license plates change.
Yeah, like leaves in fall.
Yeah, exactly.
But we kid about it, but it's true. I mean, our lifeblood here is a lot of out-of-state money. We're seeing a lot more industry coming in. Every week, we're seeing a new company come in the news. The government's doing a lot of work to bring corporations here. We are losing some to Texas, but Texas, Florida, and Arizona, everybody's flocking to.
Yeah, rightfully so. Cost of living's cheap here, and at least for now.
It's an easy place. I mean, I laugh that, when I was a kid, my dad would watch the weather on the news. Like, gotta stay awake, gotta stay up just to see the weather, and after that, I can turn the news off. But here, you never watch the weather.
No,
it's the same.
Sunny and hot.
And we're at 95 degrees already.
I know. It's happening quick.
Yeah. You're doing your ride's going to have to get earlier. Dave rides on Wednesday mornings, rides his bike.
With Sierra.
With Sierra.
We try to knock out a quick 20 miles, and we actually just bumped it up to 6:30 this week from 7 because it's already warm.
Yeah. Yeah. Good for you guys. Better you than me. I've
Right.
got to see her at the gym at 4 o'clock. Just laughing that she ran Pinnacle Peak 4 miles up a mountain and down before she did our workout on Saturday.
And then went paddleboarding.
But it's kind of cool that you can do that. You can, if you're willing to get up early, you can do a lot of stuff right in town. A couple of trails are still closed, but most are open.
Yeah, I think Choya on Camelback is still closed.
That's still closed. But you can get into the Echo Canyon Trail on Camelback if you want to hike that. Pascua has quite a few trails open. All their trails are open. There's just a million different trails in there. That Trail 100 goes around the back of it. I was out by the McDowell's this week. And then, of course, Sierra's on Pinnacle Peak. So if you want to do the hiking, just get out early, bring water.
Yep, lots of water.
And then I looked at a bicycle club the other day, and they're doing 5 different rides, 5 different starting points on like Saturday and Sunday. And they'll have like 3 different levels of riders. So if you want to ride with the 15 plus mile per hour, the 11 to 15, and then the under 11, depends on which one. And they end up at appropriate restaurants. Like the under 11 ends up at like Waffle House.
Right.
Like the 15 mile and over, they end up at like Chop Shop.
Right.
Like somewhere healthy.
That's perfect.
I thought that was hilarious. Like, no syrup on this ride.
Yes.
We're going fast. But again, staying active, and that stuff's in town all over. But we're seeing people, who want to stay active all year long moving here, especially if you're older. You don't want to do another winter.
Yeah, I mean, the winters are nice. We can't go wrong there. But it is nice to get out in the summer.
Yeah, and when we talk about summer, August, no one's here.
No, we're forced to be because our school district starts in August.
That messed up my Carlsbad timeshare.
Right?
I haven't gone to that thing in years. I either give it to a client or sell it every single year because it was the week before school started. They moved school up a week, and now can't even use it. It overlaps.
I wish school would go from like mid-September to mid-June.
Yeah.
It'd make a lot more sense.
But actually, no. If the kids just stayed in school all the time, then I can go take vacations.
Right?
But while in Chicago, people would be doing a lot more Florida and Jamaica, that type of stuff. Here, it's Mexico, California.
Yeah. Now, and Mexico's close. California's close. I mean, it's your 4 or 5 hour drive.
Yeah.
And you'd be at the beach.
There's a couple little towns I like: Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach. These are all right near LAX. Newport has its own airport.
Yep.
So you can be there in an hour and a half.
That's only a
door to
45-minute flight.
Yeah. By the time you get to the airport, by the time you're getting, Ubered back to wherever you're staying.
Yep.
So we do a lot of California. And then if you don't, boy, the staycations here in the summer, they're starting up again. We got one coming up for my daughter's birthday, and doing a staycation for the 10-year-old girls.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Which hotel?
I don't know. I'm not invited.
No.
I'm paid for it, though. I think they're going to the Princess.
Oh, Princess is great.
Yeah. But that's kind of, because you're not going to go to a park in this kind of heat, even. And for girls, you can't just go to the batting cages like the boys. The boys were a lot easier with the birthdays.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah. So we'll do that. But staycations here, really expensive. I know you've done it. I do it pretty much every summer. Nice way to get a couple families together. You get that staycation, and everybody kind of hangs out for the weekend. Pools, restaurants, everything's fantastic. You get all the things you love about snowbirds coming in the winter. We get in the summer. We have to deal with the heat.
Right. Well, you get those nice rates, though, for the hotel rooms.
Oh, yeah. And a lazy pool with the bar in it. Mm-hmm. You're just floating around in the little inner tube. Not that I would do that.
No, not you.
When you flip over in those things, You might spill your drink.
That's right.
It could happen.
It can. You usually have 2.
But then they got that Flow Rider. Have you ever seen that one?
Mm-mm.
I think that's up at Desert. Let me think here. Scottsdale Quarter.
The Weston Kierland?
Yeah, Weston
Yeah,
Kierland.
there you go.
Yeah, that one's got a surfing wave boogie board.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that one's kind of, they call it the Flow Rider. I don't get on because you could spill your drink.
That's right.
But we just kind of talked about some of the fun little things we do here in Arizona. And, you know, the fact that our last podcast was talking about like day drinking, that kind of thing. But, you know, it's 24/7 here. We're not that sleepy town. We're not priced like the sleepy town that we used to be. We don't have the restaurants that the sleepy town used to be. It's fun here. I mean, everything I liked about LA, Chicago, without the traffic.
Yeah, and it's nice that they're widening those freeways too, so we don't feel the traffic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because as long as it's I-17 to Flagstaff, though.
Still can't figure that one out.
Dave keeps sending me properties up in Flagstaff because it's cold up there. It snows, and it's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
Great little getaway.
Oh, fantastic. But the traffic.
Never come home on a Sunday.
Nah, you just won't get home.
Right.
You might have to stay in Sedona. Don't even talk about Sedona. Boy, trying to get through that town during the day.
Brutal. They won't even test it.
Yeah, they're actually trying to limit some of the rentals in there, the VRBO.
Too many people using them.
Too many parties, too much traffic to the city.
You don't want to mess with the Zen.
The Zen.
Sedona has.
If you have been to Sedona, it's beautiful, very psychically driven. You can do you can do goat yoga.
Is that still a thing?
I could see you doing goat yoga.
Yeah.
Last time we were up there, the hotel was offering goat yoga classes, and I wasn't sure. I'll eat the goat. I don't want, I want it on my back.
Right.
Yeah, good ways to spend your money. They can figure out ways to take it out of your pocket. Well, I think we're wrapping up episode 15.
Episode 15 in the books.
We do want to kind of announce that we're opening a new office in Paradise Valley. So Old Town Scottsdale and PV, we'll get some of our PV agents to hop on the next podcast and kind of talk about what's going to go on up there and what kind of vibe we're bringing to that part of town, because our agents travel with a little mojo.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Super excited to get the build out done and hopefully be open by August 1st.
Yeah, we'll get some pictures posted online. Everybody, thanks for listening. If you want to reach us, Dave?
480-359-6519.
Want to email you?
Dave at Urban Lux, that's LUXERE.com. Joe at the same, or info at urbanluxre.com.
Fantastic. And if you're coming through Old Town, pop in, say hello. Doors always open. We're a retail feel, so people do just kind of come in and hang out and say hi and talk about the market and where they're from. Wear one of those polo shirts that has your Hawkeye on it, or your Badger, or your Bears, so we know where you're from.
There you go.
But you guys have a good week. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Luxe Lounge Podcast, the official podcast of Urban Luxe Real Estate, located in Old Town Scottsdale, Arizona. If you'd like to support the show, please give us a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice, follow the show on Instagram, or subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you have questions for Joe and Dave, feel free to write in to luxloungepod@gmail.com. We may talk about your question on the show. If you would like to learn more about Urban Luxe Real Estate, please visit our website, urbanluxre.com, for more information. This podcast was produced by T-Door Productions. Intro music by Doug Maxwell. Outro music by Track Tribe.